YouTubers, and welcome to Level-Headed News. This is your host, Brenda. I've got 19 articles for you here this morning. All the URLs are in the description of the video for your convenience. Of hot topics going on in the last 24 hours. This first one is off of the Washington Post, and it says dozens reported dead after gunman in Philippines reportedly sets fires in casino, steals chips, and then kills himself. A gunman burst into a casino at a resort complex in Manila early Friday, set fire to gambling tables, and stuffed a bag with casino chips. He had an apparent suicide in a hotel room. Local media reports said at least 34 died as a result of the fire. Suffocated in the chaos as guests and staff tried to flee choking smoke at the complex. The channel reported, quoting, of fire forces. The resort owners were still seeking details on the deaths, Rutgers reported. Earlier, police said more than 70 people suffered mostly minor injuries in the stampede to escape. The wound was to a guard at the complex who accidentally shot himself when the suspect entered the room, the Associated Press reported, citing authorities. The attack initially ignited fears of terrorism in the Philippine capital. Authorities later expressed doubts that it was terrorism related. After the hours-long attack at Resorts World Manila, Philippines National Police Chief Ronald De La Rosa told reporters that a single gunman responsible for the assault used gasoline to set fire to gambling tables but did not fire at people. Shot all the people gambling there if it had been terrorism, AP quoted De La Rosa as saying, but he did not hurt anyone. The motive appeared to be robbery. He lost in the casino and wanted to recoup his losses, or he went totally nuts. Police Chief Oscar Albedadel said, according to AP, the attack sent hundreds of people fleeing into the night. Philippine police, fire trucks, and SWAT teams rushed where witnesses initially reported seeing a masked gunman firing at guests on the second floor of a hotel. An upper floor of a nearby mall was on fire, and photos circulated on social media showing plumes of smoke pouring out of the building, which showed people running out of the hotel amid billowing smoke. Security footage showed the gunman ignoring a security guard who tried to question him at the entrance to the complex. He did not hurt the guard, but went straight to the gambling area, said, according to the AP. De La Rosa said the gunman apparently room on the 5th floor of the Maximum's Hotel connected casino, laid on the bed, blanketed himself, doused himself with gasoline, and set himself on fire, AP reported. The bag of gambling chips worth 113 million pesos, or $226,000, was found in a toilet. It was English-speaking, but had no identification cards. De La Rosa described him as white with a mustache and about 6 foot tall. Initially raised fears of a connection to fight. That again. The incident initially raised fears of a connection to fighting on the southern island of Otto between security forces and Islamist rebels linked to Islamic State, who have taken hostages and burned buildings in a battle for control of the city of. The authorities struggled to ascertain what was happening at the resort complex. There were conflicting reports about what motivated the attack and whether more than one gunman was involved. The intelligence group, which monitors terrorist activity on the internet, said a Filipino operative linked to the Islamic State claimed that a lone wolf soldier carried out the attack. Confirmation of the claim, and analysts have said that any connection between the Islamic State and Muslim insurgents in the Philippines. In Washington, President Trump began an announcement regarding the Paris Climate Agreement by saying he was closely monitoring the terrorist attack in Manila. Very sad as to what's going on to terror, he said. Resorts World Manila in the southwestern part of the metropolitan Ninoy and Equo International Airport said on Twitter early Friday that it was working closely with police to ensure the safety of employees and guests, adding, "We ask for your prayers during these difficult times." Stephen Riley, the resort chief operating officer, told reports that hotel guests and staff were evacuated. The large resort complex is popular with tourists and featured hotels, bars, the casino, the shopping mall, and the theater. Rodrigo Duarte, violence on Mindanao last week, martial law on the entire island, the second largest in the Philippines. He has also threatened to impose military rule nationwide. Marquai broke out May the 23rd when Philippine troops capture Isnilan Hapalon, the leader of a terrorist group, do Sayaf city, and at least 140 people have been reported killed there since the siege. And I'm waiting for the hamster to appear. Okay, that appears to be the end of that one. Next article. Be having some sort of a convulsion. Two rocks, duct tape to a garden hose, and the hose is full of holes. Come on. And we wait. He's running. I see him running in the wheel thing. Trump announces U.S. will exit Paris climate deal, sparking criticism at home and abroad. Post. And we'll see if we can get this up here a little bit. President Trump announced Thursday afternoon that he is withdrawing the United States from the landmark Paris Climate Agreement, an extraordinary move that dismayed American allies and set back the global efforts. And it jumps. And sets back the global effort to address the warming planet. Decision to set worldwide, drawing swift, sharp condemnation from foreign leaders as well as top environmental titans who decried the U.S. exit from the Paris Accord as an irresponsible abdication of American leadership in the face of irrefutable scientific evidence. Oh my God. You can tell this is off the Washington Post, can't you? Trump, who has labeled climate change a good on a campaign promise to the hamster would this article all over the place. I could read it. Good on a campaign promise. Again, I'm playing hide and go seek with this article. Okay, Trump, who has labeled climate change a hoax, made good on a campaign promise to cancel the Paris Agreement and Obama era regulations that he said were disseminating industries and killing jobs. The president of American sovereignty, arguing that the climate pact under President Barack Obama was grossly unfair to the U.S. workers he had vowed to protect. List America First. I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris, Trump proclaimed in a forceful, lengthy, and at times rambling speech from the Rose Garden of the White House. He added, as of today, the United States will cease all implementation of the non-binding Paris Accord and the draconian financial and economic burdens it imposes on our country. The United States joins only two countries, um, Nicaragua and Syria, in opposing climate agreement reached by all other nations in 2015. Achievement for Obama, the Paris Accord was celebrated as a universal response to global warming crisis. The U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement cannot actually be finalized until near the end of Trump's term because of the Accord legal structure and language. The world's second largest emitter of greenhouse gases walking away from the pact, scientists be nearly impossible for the world to realize its agreed goal of limiting global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius, a rise above pre-industrial temperatures. Still, many U.S. states and private companies announced Thursday that despite Trump's decision, they would continue their own existing policies, restricting greenhouse gas emissions as well as pursue new ones to demonstrate urgency in addressing the climate threat. Of disputed by environmentalists, Trump argued Thursday that the pact would hurt domestic manufacturing and other industries and would put the United States at a permanent disadvantage with China, India, and other rising powers. He said would cost the United States as many as 2.7 million jobs by 2025 and as much as $3 trillion in lost gross domestic product. We're going to have the cleanest air, Trump said. We're going to have the cleanest water. We will be environmentally friendly, but we're not going to put our businesses out of work. We're not going to lose our jobs. To those who had encouraged him to remain in the accord, Trump said he was open to negotiating a new climate deal that, in his assessment, would be more fair to the U.S. interests. We're getting out, he added, but we will start to negotiate and we will see if we can make a deal that's fair. If we can, that's great. And if we can't, that's fine. The leaders of France, Germany, and Italy issued a joint statement voicing regret about Trump's move, promising to implement the Paris Agreement and asserting that it cannot be. We deem the momentum generated in Paris in December of 2015 irreversible, and we firmly believe that the Paris Agreement cannot be renegotiated since it is a vital instrument for our planet and economies. French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and Italian Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni. Trump spoke by phone with Merkel and Macron, as well as Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and British Prime Minister Theresa May, who led a chorus of world leaders urging Trump to keep the United States in the Paris Agreement. He is making a mistake for the future of his country and for the people, and mistake, Macron said. Eric Solheim, executive director of the United Nations Environment Program, said in an interview that the biggest losers will be the American people. It's obviously regrettable, he said. The world needs American leadership. However, the impact is less would believe because China, India, and Europe will provide leadership. Central to Trump's rationale was his feeling that the United States had been taken advantage of. Trump argued the Paris Accord was so unfavorable to the U.S. interests that other countries were laughing at America. The rest of the world applauded when we signed the Paris Agreement, Trump said. They went wild. They were so happy for the simple reason that it put our country, the United States of America, which we all love, at a very, very big economic disadvantage. recently returned from a maiden foreign trip, added, "We don't want other leaders in other countries laughing at us anymore, and they won't be." Obama strongly defended the Paris Agreement as a measure to protect the world we leave to our children. In a statement released Thursday, he said the pact was the product of steady, principled American leadership on the world stage, pointing out that it had broad support. "I believe the United States of America at the front of the pack," Obama said, "but even in the absence of American leadership, this administration joins a small handful of nations that reject the future. I'm confident that our states, cities, and businesses will step up and do even more to lead the way and help protect for future generations the one planet we've got." The atmosphere in the Rose Garden was celebratory, with a military band performing "Summertime" as hits as cabinet members, White House staffers, conservative activists, and other Trump supporters took their seats in the garden under a bright sun. The scene was a reflection of the deep divide within the Trump administration over Paris. The president took much of the spring to make up his mind amid intense campaign by both sides to influence his decision. Tillerson and Ivanka Trump, the president's daughter and advisor, are among those who urged him to stay in the deal, arguing it would be beneficial to the United States to remain part of the negotiations, and meetings surrounding the agreement as a matter of leverage and influence. Thursday's Chief Strategist Stephen K. Bannon and Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Scott Pruitt pushed for a withdrawal. When Trump announced that he would pull out, there was a burst of applause from the assembled crowd in the Rose Garden, and Bannon held his hands up in the air, clapping enthusiastically. Trump, Vice President Pence said the climate decision was an example of the president putting what he sees as the interests of the United States above all else. "Our president is choosing to put American jobs and American consumers first," Pence said. "Our president is choosing to put American energy and American industry first. And by his action today, President Trump is choosing to put the forgotten men and women first." More than 190 nations agreed to the accord in December of 2015 in Paris, and 147 have since formally ratified or otherwise joined it, including the United States, representing more than 80% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Heavily backed by U.S. global corporations, including oil giants Royal Dutch Shell, ExxonMobil, and BP. Large corporations, especially those operating in the international markets, have had years to get used to the idea of reduction on carbon emissions, and they have been adapting their businesses accordingly for some time. States from the agreement could take years because of the accord's legal structure and language, but such a move would weaken its goals almost immediately. The United States is the world's second largest greenhouse gas emitter and would otherwise have accounted for 21% of the total emission reduction achieved by the accord through 2030. Trump's decision were immediate and strongly worded. Former Vice President Al Gore, who won a Nobel Prize for his work raising awareness about global warming, decision was reckless and indefensible. He's the one that invented the internet in the world. Damn ability to solve the climate crisis, Gore said in a statement. Executive of General Electric tweeted, "Disappointed with today's decision on the Paris Agreement. Climate change is real. Industry must now lead and not depend on government." Goldman Sachs chief executive Lloyd Blankfein tweet Thursday saying, "Today's decision is a setback for the environment and for the U.S. leadership's position in the world." Tesla chief executive and Disney's chief executive Robert Iger Thursday that they were leaving Trump's business advisory decision to withdraw from the Paris deal. In Europe, politicians slammed for his brush Balkan leader last week, and at a NATO meeting in Brussels. You can withdraw from a climate agreement, but not from climate change, Mr. Trump, Social Democratic leader Martin Schultz. Reality isn't just another statesman you shove away. But on Capitol Hill, Republican leaders praised Trump's move. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, said in a statement, "I applaud and his administration for dealing significant blow to the Obama administration assault on domestic energy production and jobs." And Republican of Wisconsin said, "Climate agreement was simply a raw deal for America. I commend President Trump for fulfilling his commitment to the American people and withdrawing from this bad deal." There was some Republican dissent, however. Collins, Republican of Maine, tweeted, "Climate change requires global approach. I'm disappointed in the president's decision." Next article. The hamster. I'm here. He's running. Article. So much for him to. Around he's trying to get to it. Speed is horrible here. I guess I could talk a little bit more about the climate change sides to get with the program. That article is written by the Washington Post, and of course they're extremely liberal. Started out pretty one-sided, but that's the matter. During Trump's speech, which really wasn't as long as what, because I actually speech, um, proved that pouring billions of dollars into this ring to bring the temperatures down much at all. Good money after bad. So the point of doing this is to make any big improvements. Remember that Macron and Merkel, they're all part of the globalist liberal. And for us to be involved with the globalist agenda. The next article is finally up. It says it's off the Gateway Pundit, and it says, "Breaking: House issues subpoenas to top officials related to Obama unmasking scandal." 7 subpoenas today related to Obama unmasking scandal issued by the House Intelligence Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election. The subpoenas are related to the masking of political opponents by the Obama administration. According to J report. 3 of the 7 total subpoenas are regarding reports saying members of were identified in foreign surveillance reports unmasked. The Wall Street Journal reported the House Intelligence Committee issued 7 subpoenas on Wednesday in a sign that its investigation into alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 election is in scope and intensity, according to people familiar with the matter. The Republican-led committee issues related to allegations are related to questions about how names of associates of President Donald Trump's were collected and distributed within reports by Obama administration officials during the transition between the administrations. Has subpoenaed the National Security Agency, the Federal Bureau of Central Intelligence Agency, for information about what is called unmasking. Republicans on the committee have been pushing for a thorough investigation of how the names of Trump campaign officials became exposed in classified intelligence reports based off intelligence community intercepts. Those subpoenas seek information on requests made former CIA Director John Brennan and former United Nations Ambassador Samantha Power for names in classified material. The 3 didn't personally receive subpoenas. The people familiar with the matter said Mr. Brennan, Ms. Rice, and Ms. Powers didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. For the hamster to catch up and get BizPack review. House Intel Committee investigation heats up, naming 3 Obama-era officials. That's the popcorn. It's about to get fun. The U.S. House Intelligence Committee has finally expanded its investigation campaign connection to real crimes that may have been committed by the Obama administration. Let this scroll up a little bit. Video in this, and that usually my hamster. Running in the wheel, so I know he's trying to get it up here for me. Served 3 intelligence agencies with subpoenas requesting evidence of unmasking requests of American. Oh, well, I love it when it jumps around. There we go. Requests of Americans by 3 Obama-era officials: former White House National Security Advisor Susan Rice, former John Brennan, and most surprising, the former UN Ambassador Samantha Power. Were and served upon the National Security FBI, CIA, according to Fox News, reported the following. Power's name in the subpoenas marks the first appearance of the former UN ambassador in the controversy surrounding Obama administration's use of unmasking. Capitol Hill sources told Fox News they are devoting increasing scrutiny to Power. In and winner of the Pulitzer Prize, who worked as foreign policy advisor office of Barack Obama before joining his administration, because they have come to see her role in the unmasking as larger than previously known and eclipsing those of the former officials named. Rice initially denied having requested the unmasking of any names of Americans on intelligence reports, but later came clean and admitted that she may have, while denying that she'd leaked those names. Former U.S. prosecutor and National Review contributing editor Andrew McCarthy was asked about this latest development Wednesday night. You don't issue a subpoena unless you have good faith basis to believe documents you're asking for exist, he told Fox News host Martha McCallum. Is that these Brennan and Powell in the unmasking. While the names of Rice and Brennan made obvious sense, McCarthy the power request to be peculiar. Her job is really diplomatic. That Representative Trey Gowdy had specifically asked a committee or at a committee hearing if any ambassador had requested the unmasking of perhaps he knew of such activity by Power. FNC's James Rosen reported this new development, responded with glee. There's some tweets here. James Rosen, Samantha J. Power, Ambassador Rice, and John Brennan named in House Intel Com subpoenas to FBI, CIA, NSA Gov News.com. Robert Gilbert put a tweet out that says James Rosen, Samantha Power, Ambassador Rice, Com, FBI, CIA, NSA Gov. And then he's got a little video of a high five. There's a bunch more tweets following that are of the same. If you want to pull it up and see those for yourself. Get the hamster to move to the next article here. This is off of Newsmax. And it should be with us here momentarily. Hamster is a running in that wheel. Waves law requiring U.S. move Jerusalem. Trump has temporarily waived a law requiring U.S. to move its embassy to Israel in Jerusalem. Trump's move to renew the waiver for 6 months keeps the U.S. embassy in Tel Aviv for now. Trump has said he's reviewing whether to fulfill his campaign promise to move it to Jerusalem. Trump was facing a Thursday deadline to renew the waiver, or the department lose half its funding for its overseas facilities. Both parties have renewed the waiver every 6 months for years. Considers Jerusalem its capital, but Palestinians claim East Jerusalem for the capital of the future state. The U.S. says its policy on Jerusalem hasn't changed and that Jerusalem's status must be negotiated between Israelis and Palestinians. The article is off of BizPac Review. Here. And the wheel's going round and round. Bear with us while we get the article up here on the screen. Well, he's trying. I see him running in the wheel. Here we go. It's starting up here now. Wasserman-Schultz admits Hill IT security violations, blames House administrators for not stopping her. Representative Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, whose office equipment U.S. Capitol Police seized in a criminal investigation to congressional network security violations, admitted she violated official information security policy and blamed the House chief administrative officer for not stopping her. In a May 17th appropriations hearing on Congress's administrative budget, said she had violated the policy for years and years and years. She also sought to find out how much House authorities might know about her internet usage, asking, are members monitored? Or investigating longtime information technology or IT aide Imran Awan and funneling members of the House Permanent Select Committee on Homeland Security and Affairs. Schultz lashed out, changed title to advise of firing. Authorities banned him from the network. She resigned as Democratic National Committee in July of 2016 after unidentified hackers accessed the which WikiLeaks later published. Using an application outside infrastructure and protection or cybersecurity. Or that sentence again. If a member is using an application outside of the House infrastructure and the protection of our cybersecurity network of House policy, she asked John Ramsey, the House's information security officer, at the hearing on the legislative branch budget in the previous appropriation hearing. Should scroll it up a little more here. Policy 17, yes, ma'am, Ramsey responded. So members are not supposed to be using this Wasserman-Schultz Act to the policy, Ramsey replied. Then blamed House authorities for not stopping her and questioned her commitment to cybersecurity. More than happy to admit that I use Dropbox. I have used it for years and years and years. It's not blocked. Able to use it, she said. Ability in our network, in spite of the fact that you say you've taken steps to address it, she continued, and there's not of a policy that applies across the board. Make sure that you tighten up your rules and policies so that you can really take seriously protecting our work, she said. Video of the full exchange, if you care to pull it up and watch that for yourself. Video of the second exchange, if you want to see that one. She then asked how much authorities might know about her computer activities. Does the chief administrative officer examine whether members are following the rules? And sure that if you are concerned, as you say you are, about protecting the information on the House IT network, actually enforcing that and make members aware of the policy, she continued. How have you communicated with members of Congress about the use of outside applications and whether or not their use of outside application is compliant with the posted policy? Ramsey replied that his office communications IT policy by notifying the IT aides working for congressional committees and individual members. When the policy came out, ma'am, we had sent some targeted communications out to various IT systems administrators that serve, he said. The implication was that all of the information from his boss, causing her to violate policies, but instead of anger at staffers failing, the notion the House authorities communicating about technology issues through members, relevant staffers, calling it just lobbying email into a tech person's inbox. Safe to say that you have not, she said. Wouldn't you think that you would have a policy where you inform every single member and that we actually have a meeting with a person so you can inform them exactly what the rules are, what is allowable and what is not allowable? Chief Administrative Officer Phil Kiko that we do inform every IT person, IT administrator in every congressional office if that's not enough. Using Dropbox as an example of a commonly used computer application, Wasserman-Schultz questions probe how storing data outside of the house IT network is treated as a matter of policy by authorities. One is suspected of funneling sensitive house data off-site into secret servers, federal employees have said, which is much broader breach, technically overlaps in some ways with how Dropbox works. Working for Wasserman-Schultz in 2005, three of his relatives, including a 20-year-old brother, as well as his best friend, payrolls at salaries on par with congressional. They have collected $4 million since 2010, despite being rarely seen. Members, chiefs of staff on February the 2nd that warns of a criminal probe fired them. In this 17th hearing, Wasserman-Schultz lamented that members didn't have the ability pressure on the chief of the Capitol Police because he reports to that board's members report to the House Committee on Appropriations Legislative Subcommittee is one of the 8 members. We've had jurisdictional issues and a challenging time conducting oversight because of the structure of the Capitol Police Board and being an inaudible line rather than a direct line to us in terms of being a board accountable, she said. I'd like to know, Sergeant, if you think that we at restructuring the way the board makes decisions so that we can establish a more direct line of accountability. The chief doesn't have a decision-making role, Wasserman-Schultz continued. Unusual exchange may have been set up to the Congress the next day at a hearing on the Capitol Police's budget. After raising the specter of cutting its budget, 3 minutes repeatedly demanding the return of a laptop that the chief explained is important to proving criminal cybersecurity case. Nonetheless, she angrily insisted that it be saying there will be consequences if he does not relinquish the evidence. On this subcommittee to threaten the chief to the U.S. Capitol Police, who ran against her in the for the House seat, wrote on Facebook post, and Wasserman-Schultz from the House Committee on Appropriations Legislative Branch Subcommittee on any matter dealing with the Capitol Police budget. Wasserman-Schultz spokesman David Dameron responded to the question. The next article, as soon as the hamster catches. Your connection. You would not mention that. Good golly. Okay. .com. I have articles fired through these as fast as the hamster will let us. Now blames WikiLeaks and InfoWars for losing the election. New day, a new batch of people to this. Hillary Clinton is still blaming everyone apart from herself for her 7 months later. On stage interview today, users coordinating with WikiLeaks to sabotage her campaign. We can get the hamster to scroll this up a little more here. Hillary claimed that the Podesta emails were leaked 1 hour after the Access Hollywood eclipsed the former, despite it did no such thing because the news cycle dominated by Trump's grab her by the pussy. Within 1 hour, let's see, the Russians, WikiLeaks by John Podesta emails, said Hillary before claiming that the Podesta emails were to boredom, simultaneously asserting that they swung the pick one Hillary because you can't have both. Or they dumped them and then they began to weaponize them, and they began the allies within the internet world like InfoWars take out pieces and begin to say the most outlandish, outrageous imagine, she added. He dumps that one on me. October immediately start falling, said Hillary, in reference to the which she also claims was motivated by the Russians and Trump people screaming lock her up as a reason for her defeat, as well as Google searches being predominantly for WikiLeaks in the final days of her campaign. She goes on to call WikiLeaks Podesta dump false information despite her. It was boring to witness still stuck in nearly 7 months after the election would be so hilarious. Article here is off of Newsmax. Hillary he's got to try to drag the information through a rock, the garden hose, and not slip it through any of the holes in the garden hose and get it through the rock at the other end. The duct tape holds up that's holding the rocks to the good golly. This all get out for me. I don't know about you. Appreciate all the people that listen to my internet connect, because I'm really trying to do a good thing here, bringing you the news. Easy. It'd be a real easy thing to do if I had a decent internet connection through. Well, come on, hamster. He's trying. Go. Hillary strikes. Americans used weaponized info. Up a little bit here. Wednesday, her campaign lost the 2016 election. Rather, it was weaponized information. Oops. Much. It was weaponized information guided by America played a key role in turning voters away from the Democratic candidate. Ability for every decision I made, I lost. The annual code conference in Los Verdes, California, affected the election. Control because I had no control over the Russians, was the way of the used into the greatest scandal since Lord knows when, she said. This was the biggest nothing burger ever. You are in charge of classified information that you put in servers that can be easily hacked by any middle school child. So you think that any other government could not access these emails? What the hell's wrong with her? Opinion could not have known how best to weaponize that information unless they had been guided by Americans. Many emails of the campaign chairman John Podesta were published by WikiLeaks just 1 hour after the Washington Post ran a story about Donald Trump making an old act. How did that actually message to deliver? Clinton said. Who told them? Who were they coordinating with and colluding with? One of the moderators, whether she was leaning Trump. Clinton said, yes, I'm leaning Trump, adding, I think it's pretty hard not to. The FBI is currently looking into whether members of Trump's staff and officials. Clinton said the real lesson from the election involved the war on information, noting the majority of content surrounding the election was fake news originating from Russia. Down, Clinton said, it's way beyond me. I believe that what was happening to me was unprecedented. Over the summer, we went and told find that Russians were messing with the election, and we were basically shooed away. We couldn't get the press to cover it. False content, Clinton said. We weren't in the same category as the other side. In particular, she lashed out at email leaks, particularly from WikiLeaks, about her paid speeches to Goldman Sachs, pointing out that many men also have been paid for their speeches. At some point, it bleeds into misogyny. But she also said the loss hasn't bowed her going anywhere, she said. I have a big stake in what happens in this country. I'm very, unbowed and unbroken about what happened because I don't want it to happen to anybody else. I don't want it to happen and the institutions I care about in America. And I think we're at a really pivotal point. Therefore, I'm going to, keep writing and keep talking and keep supporting people who are on the front lines of the resistance. Goodness. Off a BizPack review. And the hamster's working on it here. Round and around the wheel goes. It says Hillary whines she inherits nothing from bankrupt Dems, then throws DNC under the bus for election loss. Failed presidential candidate Hillary Clinton has added the Democratic National Committee to the growing list of responsible for her loss to President Donald Trump. Remarks at the Recode Tech Conference in California on Wednesday. Hillary started off insisting she takes responsibility for the decision she made, but then turned around and blamed her election for every decision I make, but that's not why I lost, Clinton said. And then trashed the DNC's poor data operation. I set up my campaign and we have our own data operation, she said. I get the nomination, so I'm now the Democratic Party. I inherit nothing from the Democratic Party. It was on the verge of insolvency. Its data was mediocre to poor. Wrong. I had to inject money into it. Hillary then claimed Trump had inherited a better data operation, provides demographic info on voters from absurd on its face because the Republicans lost the 2008 and 2012 presidential elections. The winning opportunity. It's ironic that Clinton blamed the DNC because her longtime pal Debbie Wasserman-Schultz was the chair of the DNC. Wild here. Get the hamster back under control. Wasserman-Schultz was the chair to ensure the Bernie Sanders would lose the primary election. Spread story covered her and this the multiple criminal FBI investigations into her unsecured email server as the biggest nothing burger ever. Months after her defeat, Clinton has blamed her loss to Trump on the following. Here's a list. Get your pencil in case you want to take notes. I'm going to try to get this to scroll up here. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. DNC, Russia, Facebook, New York Times, wiki hating women, deplorable white people. Hillary can smell the Kofifi. Blah. Oh, I'm just gonna pull this and read those. There's some video off the wheel, and let's next article. The next one. I mean, the woman did to her rallies, which she did go to.